fact, there is no longer a federal constitutional right to an abortion.
The Supreme Court has essentially reshaped American life.
It's going to be legal chaos.
Where abortion is legal in about half the states, illegal in half the states.
We will abolish abortion.
Well, good morning. This is a great week to celebrate because something significant happened this week in America that affects everybody. The giant of abortion has fallen. And I want to show you this morning how that affects you listening this morning. Perhaps you're a young person, perhaps you're a newlywed, perhaps you're somebody thinking about a family. And you need to know this morning, so don't go away. Welcome to Timeout. My name is Windt. Yes, the giant of abortion has been slain, and I believe God himself came and had a hand in this justice to protect children, unborn children, in reversing this law in 1973 in a case called Roe versus Wade, in which a woman brought this case against the state. They adopted abortion, and to me it was like abortion on demand, because the majority of abortions, which is 63 million in this time, was not because of medical reasons or health, because of women's rights. It was because it was their preference. It was convenience. And yes, 63 million children lost their lives, lost the right to live. And yes, people are protesting it, some people. And it's interesting that Ronald Reagan once wrote, he said, all those that are pro-abortion, just note they've all been born already. They don't have to be threatened because they are alive. But what about the rights of unborn children? How does God see them? And this injustice that was done, because 63 million children lost their lives because of this law that was now reversed. And this is a significant milestone. This is a crossroad in humanity, in the history. And I'm going to show you, yes, it happened in America, but it affected the whole world, this policy. Now, let me just read to you what God says about the unborn child in Psalm 139. He said, when David wrote, he said, you made parts of my body and knit me all the delicate inner parts together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. Now, this is all to do with when David says, when the child is in the womb, God has already made a marvelous creation. How well I know it. You watched me, and as I was being formed in my utter seclusion, as I was woven together in the darkness of the womb. David says, God, you were watching me even when I wasn't fully formed yet, and I was woven together, and you saw me before I was born. God had a vision for the unborn child before the child had vision to see his own life. That's what the Bible says. And then it says, every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. Another version says, before I started one day of my life, every days of my life were already written in a book. Now, if that's true, then it means every unborn child has already got a history written, a future written by God. So we don't have a right to just take their lives. So we have to fight for the right of the unborn child. Abortion basically took away every single right. I'm not saying in every case, but in the majority of cases, the right for children to have a life. And that means now, when we've been speaking in a series of the giants of falling, slaying giants, I believe this giant of abortion was an abomination, standing high in the forest, laughing at the future of our children, laughing at God. And this giant has been slain. And when a big giant falls in a forest, it's a massive noise, because it breaks down other trees, and it really doesn't go down quietly. And we've seen this week, it hasn't gone down. When this law was revoked, there was hysteria, there was screaming, there was demonic manifestations. People were shouting chants, because this giant didn't fall silently. Now, every time in biblical times when we sacrifice children, it creates power for the powers of darkness. The enemy is empowered by the sacrifice of human sacrifice because we are created in the image of God. And when those children were sacrificed, just like at the time of the prophets of Baal, when Baal sacrificed children to get power, so these people have been sacrificed. These children have been sacrificed so that the enemy can get power. And when this giant fell last week, at this ruling being overruled, I want to tell you, God has given us a reprieve. Interesting that we are now living in the 50th year of this law and these 63 billion children. The 50th year, which is also, by the way, the year of Jubilee, when after 50 years is the year of Jubilee, which was a time when God would reset the economy. He would reset this some of the debt that was paid. He would give people another chance. I believe God's given you and I another chance to get it right. The seeds that we sown of destruction, of destroying those children in His image, has been reversed, and something good is going to come out of it. And you may say, Jack, what good will come to me because this law? Let me say that the American government was very powerful. They would influence African countries. They would influence European countries that did not necessarily practice abortion to say, you need to practice this because this is the right law. And they would use their economic power to bully them into submission. This literally happened. And so the whole world was influenced by this abomination of this law of abortion. And God has reversed it in an instant. And what are we going to see when that giant of abortion falls? Out of the ashes of all those 63 voices of these young children shouting to God for justice will come something good. Even in the natural, when an old tree falls down, something good happens from all the nutrients going to the ground, and somehow something new grows from that. God will take something that is absolutely darkness and He can turn it into light. And I believe we're going to see a rise of righteousness come into the forest of humanity again, into that the plantings of the Lord. And this is an exciting time to be alive. Look, God is going to do a new thing in our land, in our country, in our world, and in your life. Just celebrate it. You may not think that this is important, but let me tell you, this is one of the most important things that is happening in our world. And we're going to see the hand of God give us another chance, give you another chance to get it right. Maybe you've made a mistake like I have. Maybe you've done the wrong thing, but this is a jubilee. This is a serious time where God is saying, I'm resetting this time, this clock, and I am reversing the ills that the enemy has brought upon my people, and I'm giving them a second chance to get it right. I want to ask you, let's not get it wrong again. Let's stand for righteousness. Let's become trees and oaks of righteousness, and let us bring down the giants that the enemy has raised to ridicule us and to scoff at God. And let's bring it in our community. Let's bring it in our home. Let's bring it in our business. Let's bring it in our countries. And let us cause God to rise and His enemies be scattered. I just want to encourage you with that this morning. My name is Jack Windt. You've been watching Time Out, and I'll catch you next week.